Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Nakwam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach, Malaki Bashai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting and laboring for the second coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai. A hearty, mighty Shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out on the highways, like highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent, and they're abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters that are out there zealous, diligent, and on fire, moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom to the ancient men. Shalom to the children. Shalom to the elect of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to everybody tuning in their lives through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, Azalikio, Jezreel, Shalom, T Keeper, Akamam Ban Yasha'Allah, Priest Yahweh, HBK Lit, Aka Rectitude, Yvette McKellar, Brother Azariah, Shalom, Vernon Brody, Shalom, Yeshaya Servant, Don Israel to me, Shalom, Kings, Kyoko Ban Yumyan, Nigel Blend, son of Jacob Judah, right? And everybody else again tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. You know, Most High willing, everybody has had a productive week through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, fighting these spirits, fighting the tempter, keeping the Shabbat through wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Tomorrow night at sundown is the destruction of Nicanor. So Most High willing, everybody is prepared. Their spirits, everybody has read these accounts. Everybody has witnessed to the history, dived into the prophecy, and so-called Sunday night at sundown is Purim, right? Day one of Purim, and we'll be keeping Purim through the spirit of power. So of Yahweh Shai. That's what prompted me to go into this lesson. The final two dragons of Judgment Day that is taken from the editions of Esther. So we got a lot we want to get into. We're going to touch on Purim, prophecy, dive into some history, and what vision Mordecai had and what that means for us in the last days to touch on that. So let's go to Esther chapter 1. Right, we got a lot we want to get into through the spirit and power of Yahweh. What is this, man? Here we go. Right. All right. Let's go to editions, or it's like a regular Esther in the Old Testament. Right. And we'll go to chapter 1 and 1. Right. Let's see why this isn't. See the blue letter. Okay. See that? Let's see if I can close it out and open it back up. Because I wonder we'll be right back. So all hell is breaking loose. All right, so nevertheless, Esther 1 and 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, that is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 107 provinces. So this is during the time of the Persian captivity. When you read the book of Esther, like anything else you read, you want to make sure you understand what time frame that you're reading about, right? Are you reading about the Babylonian captivity? Are you reading about the Israelites during the Greek captivity? This is during the time of the Persian captivity, and the Persian Empire was vast, right? Let's pull up the Persian Empire. The Persian Empire had 127 provinces that range from India, as you can see on the screen right here. Make sure this is showing, because God praises to the Most High. From India all the way to Ethiopia. From India to Ethiopia. This is the Persian Empire, and Ahasuerus was reigning in the Persian Empire. That's what we're reading about right here. Over 127 provinces. All right, Esther chapter 1 and 2. That in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace. You'll see Susan or Shushan, the palace. This was a major city for the Persian Empire. Just like Washington, D.C. is the capital of the Persian, it's like of this modern day Babylonian Empire. You had a few cities that were headquarters of the Persian Empire. Shushan was one, Persepolis was another, Ecbatana was another. Those were major cities, and this was the headquarters of the king. Let's go to additions of Esther, right? We just want to lay that foundation of when did this take place, who was ruling, so we can have a good foundation, right? Let's go to additions of Esther, chapter 11 and 1, right? And I'm going to periodically check back up on this blue letter, right? If not, see that? Are we back? All right. So let's go to additions of Esther. Additions of Esther, chapter 11 and 1. In the 4th year of the reign of Ptolemaeus and Cleopatra, Dositheus, who said he was a priest and Levite, and Ptolemaeus his son brought this epistle of Purim, which they said was the same, and that Lysimachus, the son of Ptolemaeus, that was in Jerusalem, had interpreted it. Because when Purim was kept, you had Israelites that lived in Egypt, you had Israelites that lived in Judea, you had Israelites that lived, out there in the land of the Medes, the different cities of Persia. So there was a practical way for the Israelites to understand that we have to keep this law. When you read Esther, the 9th chapter, you read about, in the 8th chapter, you read about all of the letters of Purim being certified to be given to the Jews that lived in the different provinces, right? So the epistle of Purim is what Mordecai wrote in the 8th chapter by the hand of the scribes and the kings. And that was transferred and given to everybody in their own language, right? So the man that was in Jerusalem, Lysimachus, he is the one that interpreted it and broke it down and gave it to the people. All right. Now let's read on. Additions of Esther 11 and 2. In the 2nd year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great, and the 1st day of the month of Nisan, Mordecai, the son of Jairus, the son of Shammai, the son of Kish or Kisai of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream. Now, this man Artaxerxes was a Persian king. When you read the book of Esther, Ahasuerus is that main king, right? He's the main king. And like we went into before, Ahasuerus, let's go back to that in Esther 1. He is the king that you see when you watch that movie 300. All right. He's also known as Xerxes the First, aka Xerxes the Great. I'm gonna read this again in Esther 1 and 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, that is Ahasuerus which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over in 107 and 20 provinces. That's this man. Right? Let's pull this up from 300. For brothers that seen the movie 300, that's the Xerxes the First. That's Ahasuerus. While they were fighting against the Spartans, the Athenians, and them other Edomites, you had the period of Esther taking place within that province. All right. Now, let's go to Daniel. Let's open up another blue letter. Let's go to Daniel chapter 11 real quick. Right now, we're just touching on that history. We pulled up the map of the Persian Empire, and during this time, Mordecai, Esther, and other Israelites were taken captive, right? They were led captive from the days of Jeconiah, which was an Israelite king, a Judite king. And in process of time, the Persian Empire took over that Babylonian Empire, and that's where we get this time frame of Esther that we're reading about. Now, let's get Daniel chapter 11 and 1. This is Daniel 11 and 1. Also I, in the 1st year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. And it's important, one more point, it's important to go into this history because as you read the book of Esther, you find out that Haman had a plot to transition the Persian Empire to the hand of the Greeks. You know, we'll touch on that as we read on. A lot of things you read about in the editions of Esther or regular Esther, you read about Haman and his plot to overthrow the Jews, but then you begin to read how he was really thinking to overthrow the Persian Empire through subtlety. Now, we're reading about these three kings in Persia, and the fourth should be far richer than they are. The first king is Cambyses II. The second king is Bardiah. The third king is Darius I. And the fourth king is Ahasuerus, aka Xerxes, aka Xerxes the Great. He's this king again that you read about in Esther. And his kingdom and his riches excelled the riches of his fathers and of the Persian kings before him. And he ended up stirring up wars against the Greeks. So there's a lot of wars in history that was going on during this time. Haman, being a Macedonia from Greece, he found his way through subtlety into the Persian Empire, while Xerxes I was about to wage war against the Greeks. Right? Let me pull this up. I think I had a map. I believe I had a timeline rather of these kings. Okay, so here's your kings. Right? You have the three kings that you read about in Daniel 11 is Cambyses II, Bardiah, Darius I, and the fourth that was richer than they all was Xerxes I. All right, Xerxes I. He reigned from 485 to 465 BC. This is that time period of Esther. And again, here's his kingdom, inherited from his fathers, right? Just so brothers understand exactly what was going on, right? So Daniel prophesied of Xerxes I coming on the scene and him stirring up his realm, stirring up against the realm of Grecia because they had wars against the Greeks. You had the first Persian invasion of Greece by his father, Darius I. And then you had another second invasion that Xerxes had against the Greeks. And we may touch on that later, right? But that's the history kind of behind what was happening. Let's go back to editions of Esther, right? Editions of Esther, chapter 11 and 2. And the second reign, it's like in the second year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great, and the first day of the month Nisan. Nisan is the same month of Adar. It's like the same month as Abib, right? It's the first day of the new year, right? Nisan is just the Babylonian word for the first month of the year. We understand it as Abib, okay? The first day of your so-called new year, right? The first day of the month Nisan, Mardochus, which is really Mordecai, the son of Jairus, the son of Samai, the son of Kasai of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream, right? So the Most High was working with Mordecai. Now, this is before everything fell out in Esther. This happened in the second year of the king. Everything that fell out in the book of Esther happened later. So he had a dream years, almost a decade prior or so. He had a dream a decade or so prior to the events that you read about in Esther. And the Most High works with prophets. He works with men through these different dreams. Let me get that in Daniel, Numbers, right? Numbers, the 12th chapter. The Most High was working with Mordecai. Mordecai was actually a prophet, right? Mordecai was actually a prophet. So put some respect on Mordecai's name, right? This is Numbers chapter 12 and verse 6. And he said, "Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, Yahweh, will make myself known unto him in a vision and will speak unto him in a dream." So men like Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel, you understand, all those men were prophets. Mordecai is also a prophet. Isaac was a prophet. Jacob is a prophet. Noah was a prophet. Abraham's a prophet. And the Most High What he'll do is he'll visit you in your night visions, and he will show you events that are going to happen on the earth. And a lot of brothers and sisters are receiving dreams. A lot of brothers in the truth are prophets, whether they accept it or know it or not. A lot of sisters, you have visions. A lot of sisters are prophetess, like Miriam the prophetess, and they have visions and dreams about what the Most High is going to do on the earth. Right? Let me get that real quick in Joel, the 2nd chapter. Joel. So when you're visited by the Most High through those dreams, that's a beautiful thing, man. And if you haven't had dreams, don't be discouraged. Don't be dismayed. Every man has this proper gift after the Most High. Rather it be this or that. One brother may not get a lot of dreams, but one brother might have a lot of faith. Right? So it all depends on the spirit. This is Joel chapter 2 and verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am Yahweh, your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed, right? And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. This happened in Acts, the 2nd chapter, but it's also happening now. The spirit of Yahweh, by Shai, is being poured upon all the Israelites. That's the all flesh. Our sons, our daughters, we're the sons, and we're the daughters as well, are beginning to prophesy. And we're dreaming dreams and having visions of chariots. Brothers have dreams of the missiles falling on the earth. Sisters have dreams of them being delivered in Jacob's trouble. A lot of brothers and sisters, again, the Most High is working with you and giving you these dreams to comfort you and to give you faith and to give you hope and to let you be desensitized, essentially, to what events are going to play out before your eyes in the last days. All right. Now, again, Mordecai had one of these dreams. And not every dream, I want to say this too, not every dream is a dream worth pursuing and trying to figure out and giving your time over to. Some dreams are vain, right? Some dreams are based off of, let me get that in Ecclesiastes 5. Some dreams are based off of the multitude of business, right? Some dreams are just based off of you going through the motions of your day and seeing the same person all the time or being in the same setting all the time. You might dream about that. Your spirit might pick that up. And subconsciously, you may not know it, but subconsciously, of course, that's something that's in your spirit. So when you're dreaming, it kind of comes out. And you may dream about work or dream about food or dream about things that are complete folly and madness. Right? This Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and 3. For a dream cometh through the multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by the multitude of words. Right? So again, I've had dreams about me at the plantations that I've been in. Right? You may have a dream about, a loved one that passed because of your emotional attachment to that person. And you want to discern between, is this dream from the Most High or is this dream just the multitude of business? Let me get one more in dreams. Right? Let me get this in Sirach, the 34th chapter. We're going to dive into Mordecai's dream. Was Mordecai's dream of the Most High, or was Mordecai's dream something through the multitude of business, right? Ecclesiasticus chapter 34 and 1. The hopes of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools. Yeah, if you have a dream that, you're in the NBA, they pass you the ball and you hit the game-winning shot, don't let that lift you up. Don't turn, you take your Bible and your apocrypha, you lock it up and you get a jersey and, you try to be an athlete. Don't get lifted up based off of folly. You don't have to consider every dream. So you can get attacked in your dreams by spirits, man. Demons can hop on your chest and try to choke you out and have you try to call on the name of the Most High. You got sleep paralysis and lustful spirits and demons that may try to work against your flesh. Some brothers got to fight in their dreams. Whoso regardeth dreams is like him that catcheth at a shadow and followeth after the wind, which means you'll never be able to obtain what that dream meant all the time. You'll never be able to figure it out because some dreams are just utter folly. You'll never be able to follow after the wind. You can't see it, you don't know where it's going. Just like the thoughts of you trying to break down every single dream that you get. All right, I'm going to jump down. Sirach chapter 34 and verse 6. If they be not sent from the Most High in thy visitation, set not thy heart upon them. And one key way of knowing that the dream came from the Most High is that the events in your dream tie directly into biblical prophecy. You know, and or you may have similitudes in your dream. You may have dreams of, 5 trees, or this chariot came, or, you have a lot of spiritual terminology in your dream, and you want to think about that. That's how you know the Most High is giving you that dream. Usually there are similitudes, or there are allegories in your dream, or you dream about things to come that you've read about in the Bible. That's how you know that dream is sent by the Most High. Sirach 34 and 7. For dreams have deceived many, and they have failed that put their trust in none. Yeah, Martin Luther King had a dream. People had dreams that they were going to win the lottery, that this was the woman of their dreams. And all those things failed because they put their trust in folly and vanity instead of the Most High, right? So Mordecai himself, he received the dream. But the dream that Mordecai had, we're going to find out that this was truly from Yahweh Bashmi Awashad, right? Let's read this again, or read this latter part again. It reads, the son of Shimei, the son of Kasai of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream, who was a Jew and dwelt in the city of Susa, a great man, being a servitor in the king's court. So he was a top guy. Mordecai had a strong reputation. He wasn't a nobody, right? Our people are always in prominent positions, even in captivity. Remember, Daniel was the first president. Nehemiah was the cupbearer. That's the top most loyal man in captivity. Joseph was second under Pharaoh, so forth and so on. So you always have prominent men in rank or in name in captivity. And Mordecai, he was one of those men. Let's read on. He was also one of the captives, which Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, carried from Jerusalem, with Jeconiah, king of Judea, and this was his dream. Because Nehemiah was part of Mordecai was part of that second deportation from the Babylonians. That was around 597 BC. So when Ezekiel was taken captive, that was the same time Mordecai was taken captive, and a lot of other men. A lot of these fathers and forefathers, they were contemporaries, which means with time. They lived in the same time period. Jeconiah, let me get this real quick. See, we got to know that history. All right. Let me get this in 2 Kings 24. Right. And we're going to read this through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Awashad, right, concerning what happened with our fathers. 2 Kings chapter 24 and verse 8. Jehoiakim was 8 years old. It's like he was 18 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother and his servants and his princes and his officers, and the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. So he took him captive, bound him in chains. Let's read on. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord has said. Now, here's the point. Here's when Mordecai was taken captive in 2 Kings, the 24th chapter. And he carried away all Jerusalem and all the princes and all the mighty men of valor. That's one of these men is Mordecai, the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths, none remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land. So all of this goes into the siege around 597 BC. And during this time, Mordecai himself was taken captive. Here's the captivity and the journey from Jerusalem to Babylon. Right? Daniel was 605 BC. Ezekiel was part of that second deportation around 597 BC. And this is a good map right here, right? Because you see the dates, and these dates are accurate. 722 BC, the Assyrians took down the northern kingdom. 626 BC, Babylon conquers Assyria. And really, Assyria fell, a few years after, but that's a decent date. And the Babylonians had the help of the Medes. Cyaxares also played an integral role of taking down the Assyrian Empire. Ashur-Baalit III and other prominent Assyrian kings were taken captive by Nabopolassar and Cyaxares, who led a joint mission to take down that Assyrian Empire. And then you had in 605 BC, the first deportation. That was Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, and other top men. Again, Mordecai was part of this second deportation, along with Ezekiel and other men. And your third deportation was when the walls of Jerusalem fell. Zedekiah had his eyes put out, and the Most High completely took us out of our land. That was in 586 BC, in the summertime, going into the early fall, right? So these are key dates, right? A lot of our people, we know about Independence Day, July 4th, 1776, right? A lot of our people know about so-called Christmas or the New Year's or dates and days that have nothing to do with us. It's important to know what happened to us as a people, especially you brothers on the highways and byways. You should know some of these dates and know that history, right? So you can filter out or filter in exactly what happened in the Bible. Now, these are contemporary prophets that all lived in the same time. Habakkuk, right? Let's see, Jeremiah, Zephaniah, right? They all lived in the same time. So let's go back, right? We went into this just to show you that history, because the editions of Esther are speaking about an event and Mordecai being taken captive. If you don't read the history, then you're going to get lost and you won't have a full understanding. So he was taken captive in 597 BC. Now, keep in mind, this is the second year of Ahasuerus, or the king, which means Mordecai was an extremely old man around this time. He was an older man. He had to have been at least, 90 plus years old at this time, based off of the dates. So he wasn't 20, he wasn't 30. He was well off in his age. Again, think about it. 597 was the siege. The dream he had was in the second year of the Persian king. Again, going back to the dates. Where's this date? Let me pull this up. Slakia. Okay, we're going to get on that. We're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on that too, right? But 485 BC. He was almost 100 years old. Give or take. So he was an older man when he had this dream. Let's read on. Additions of Esther, chapter 11, And Slakia, this is Esther chapter 11 and verse 5. It reads, and behold, a noise of a tumult with thunder and earthquakes and uproar in the land. This is dream. A tumult is a pandemonium, which we touch on all the time. Chaos, all hell breaking loose in the streets. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. World War III on the earth. That's this tumult. World War III and civil unrest. With thunder and earthquakes, and uproar in the land. Let's go to Second Ezra real quick. Right? The Lord speaks about earthquakes and uproars of the people in the land. Second Ezra 9. We're going to get straight to the point. Right? Second Ezra chapter 9 and verse number 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So part of the signs of the end of the world is you're going to see earthquakes in diverse places, and not just on natural so-called fault lines that you're likely to see an earthquake. You're going to see earthquakes in strange places, and we've already been seeing those. This is not new. And you're also going to see chaos in the streets, looting, robbing, wars brewing up in the earth, people overthrowing their countries, overthrowing their kingdoms. That's an uproar of the people of the world. Second Ezra chapter 9 and 5. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So the dream that Mordecai had was about the end of the world, not the beginning, the end of the world, because those uproars and earthquakes are signs that it's the end of days or the end of the world. He saw thunder and uproars of the people and earthquakes. Those are bombs dropping and different events happening on the earth. And let's break this down a little further. All right, let me read one more. Second Ezra 9 and 6. Even so, the times of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And we're going to focus on the endings, because the Most High has a just balance. You have wonders in the beginning and you have wonders in the end. The Lord requires that which is past. Now, going back to his dream, it says, behold, this addition to Esther 11 and 5. Behold, a noise of a tumult with thunder and earthquakes and uproar in the land. This is speaking about World War III. And it's also speaking about here in Babylon the Great, civil unrest, martial law, and Jacob's trouble. These are the main two events that editions of Esther 11 and 5 is talking about. How do you know that? All right, let's get a precept. Let's go to Isaiah 24. Right, I didn't have this one written down, but I was thinking about it as I was reading it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shah. Right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 24 and let's read verse number 19. Right, let's read 18 about the earthquakes, because you have natural earthquakes, then you have earthquakes that are the result of bombs dropping in the world. We're going to read that. Isaiah 24 and 18. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of fear shall fall into the pit. And he that cometh out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in a snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. So the Most High saying there's no escape. You try to flee from the noise of fear, which are the bombs dropping, try to go into your pit, your nuclear bunker, your doomsday prepping facility that you made. You're not going to make it. Why? Because the windows from on high are open, which means the judgment is coming from Yahweh Shemel Shah. And part of his judgment is shaking up the foundations of the earth. That's what this means. And the foundations of the earth do shake. That's not talking about, okay, well, maybe that's the tectonic plates. That's what the so-called white man is saying. No, this is the judgment from God. Isaiah 24:19. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. What type of device can cause the earth to reel to and fro? Bombs, nuclear weapons falling on the earth. What can cause the earth and the elements to be clean dissolved? Well, we know what can cause the elements to dissolve. Let's go to 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. So Mordecai, he had a dream of bombs dropping on the earth, World War III, and Jacob's trouble. All right. And right now we're talking about the earthquake and the thunder and the uproars of the people. This is 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse number 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, and which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also, and the works that are therein shall be burned up. This links up with Isaiah 24. Isaiah 24 said the earth is clean dissolved, and it reels to and fro. Why is it dissolved? Because the elements have melted with fervent heat. 2 Peter 3 and 11. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? So if we know that the Most High is going to dissolve all the aluminum, the titanium, the people, the buildings, the asphalt, missiles, and tanks and weapons, we want to make sure that our spirit is right. It's no good of going into these prophecies and talking about it if you're going to be destroyed when it happens. So we're admonishing ourselves and one another to make sure that we're set apart from the world so we don't get caught up in this great dissolving. 2 Peter 3 and 12. Looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. So this is speaking about the nuclear bombs dropping and melting the elements and dissolving the earth. Back in Isaiah 24:19, it links directly up. It says what? The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. By what? By the fire. The earth is moved exceedingly. Let's go on. Isaiah 24 and 20. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. Right? And let me get another precept on this, because it says, and shall be removed like a cottage. Right? That made me think of another quick precept. Let's go to Revelation. Shall be removed like a cottage. Let's see. Revelation chapter 16 and verse number 18. So this links directly up again. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, just like Mordecai's dream, such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake, and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts. And the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before the Most High to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. So Babylon the Great being divided into 3 parts means complete destruction. 3 is a number in the Bible that means emphasis. So it's emphatically speaking about the destruction coming to America. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. So that's like the cottage being removed. It's speaking about a cottage is a home, right? Really, states, cities, buildings, infrastructure being removed and fleeing away goes into the destruction. All right. So Isaiah 24, 2 Peter 3, and Revelation the 16th chapter are all precepts that link up with Mordecai's dream and additions to Esther 11 and 5. That's a tumult with thunder and earthquakes and uproars in the land. All right. And let me get a precept for the uproars in the land as well. Let's go to, there's a lot we're going to get on, man. A lot we're going to touch on through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shah. Through thy precepts, I get understanding. Therefore, I hate every false way. Right? This is another precept for uproars of the people. Because you're going to have domestic uproars like civil wars, race wars in America. You're going to have international uproars of the people. Okay? Second Ezra, chapter 13 and 31. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. A realm is it's a world, a country, right? So you're going to have China, you're going to have Russia, you're going to have North Korea, Iran, America, the rest of the NATO countries. They're all going to be fighting one against another. That's what Mordecai saw. Let's go back to this and read on. Additions of Esther, chapter 11 and 6. What's another part of the dream he had? And behold, two great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great. And at their cry, all nations were prepared to battle, that they might fight against the righteous people. And lo, a day of darkness and obscurity, tribulation and anguish, affliction and great uproar upon the earth. What is Mordecai seeing right here? Well, first he saw two great dragons. Let's touch on the first great dragon, right? And what is a dragon, right? Well, the first great dragon is dealing with the so-called white man, Esau, right? He's the first dragon. Now, the other dragon represents on the right-hand side the nation of Israel, right? When you read, I'm going to go one chapter prior. Here's what he said. This is additions to Esther, chapter 10 and verse 7. And the two dragons are I and Haman. So we're being called a dragon, really Mordecai, but it's speaking about the nation of Israel. And Haman is a dragon. All right. So we understand that now. Let's go back to the 11th chapter about these two dragons. Additions to Esther 11 and 6. And behold, two great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great. Right? Let's go to Genesis 1. Right? So a dragon, but a large sea serpent, sea monster, if you will. All right? It's not a creature of mythological proponents that hides and guards treasure, and you got to go and slay the dragon and get the treasure. That's not biblical. Now, all nations, believe it or not, they have their own concept of what a dragon is. The Moabite man got a dragon. Even them so-called Arabs got dragons. Right, let me pull this up. They have their concept of a dragon, which they say is a symbol of power, strength, and good fortune. This is the Moabite man. The Arabs, they have dragons and their mythology and their paintings. Okay? Even the Ishmaelite man. In Arabic culture and folklore, the dragon known as Tinin symbolizes chaos, evil, and destructive forces that must be vanquished by heroes or divine intervention. And they get this from the Bible. All nations get their understanding and spiritual understanding of a dragon from the Bible. Not from the Disney World or not from Esau. They get that from the scriptures. And we're going to break down, what why It was translated as dragon, and what that means prophetically. Dragons in this context are often depicted as massive serpents. And that's right, because that's in the Bible. It's part of Hebraic culture. Chaotic winds or sea monsters, frequently rooted in Mesopotamian, Persian, and Egyptian mythology rather than indigenous Arabian mythology. So they get that from the Hebrews of Mesopotamia. Okay. Now, this word dragon, let's go to this etymology of it. Here's what the word dragon means. The etymology is the origin of that word, right? It traces back its foundation. All right, Salakia, to determine where it was derived from, right? Dragon, a fabulous animal common to the conceptions of many races and peoples. See that? From Old French dragon and directly from Latin draconum, meaning huge serpent. Dragon. From the Greek drakon, which means a serpent, giant sea fish. Right? So it's really just a large serpent that dwells in the waters. But it's just called a dragon because, again, it goes back to the Greek word drakon. Then it was then it took on another spelling in the Latin, then the English, which comes from Latin. It was just called a dragon, but it was always known as just a large serpent, really a large sea serpent. Now, these dragons and large serpents go back to Genesis, the first chapter, to the creation, right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 20. Right? Genesis chapter 1 and verse 20. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly. It's like you. The moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth and the open firmament of heaven. So all fowls, meaning birds, they came out the water. And all fishes came out the water. Birds and fowls both came out the sea. They have similar, what's the word I'm looking for? They have similar anatomical structures, right? They have similar physiological makeup. They have similar diets, so that shows that the Bible is true because they both came out the water. Verse 21, and the Most High created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, and the Most High saw that it was good. So the Lord created great whales, right? You have what they call the blue whales and white whales and humpback whales, but you also have other large sea monsters, right? You have other large sea monsters. That word whale in the Hebrew, right? It reads Tanayan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Dragon, serpent, sea monster. That's what it translates. That word whale. Yes, you have actual whales. Let's pull up an actual whale. I know I'm showing it loud on the screen, but that's okay. You have actual whales, okay, killer whales and all these things, Let's pull this up. And a whale technically is like a sea monster. But you have other whales and other creatures that the Most High made that are larger and more fiercer than what you see on the screen right here. So let's go back to this. So it says dragon, serpent, sea monster, dragon or dinosaur, right? There's no actual so-called dinosaurs, according to the so-called white man's language. The word dinosaur just means a terrible lizard, right? Which is not a lizard, it's nothing but a serpent, right? Same thing. Sea or river monster, serpent, it says venomous snake. A marine or land monster, this is from the Strong's definition. a dragon, sea monster, serpent, or a whale. So there were diverse types of sea monsters, for lack of better terms, and sea serpents that the Most High made way back in Genesis. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 11. All right, let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11, and we're going to read verse number, we're going to start at 17, right? Let's start at 17. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11, and verse 17. Let's see what King Solomon had to say about these things. For thy almighty hand that made the world of matter without form, wanted not means to send among them a multitude of bears or fierce lions. Yeah, the Lord didn't want to destroy the Canaanites with bears and lions. He's going to tell you why. Or unknown wild beast full of rage, newly created, breathing out either a fiery vapor or filthy scents of scattered smoke, or shooting horrible sparkles out of their eyes. So the Lord could have created creatures, and he has some of these creatures that do exist, that breathe out fiery vapor, like Leviathan. Leviathan is a creature that's full of rage that breathes out fiery vapor. And the Most High, if he wanted to destroy the Canaanites, he could have used whatever he wanted to use. Right? He could have sent Slakia. He could have sent anything, man. He could have sent any wild creature that he desired. That's his will. The Lord is so powerful. The Most High said, I could have sent a creature that sent out smoke and filthy scents, like toxic, that's called toxic poisonous gas, like monoxide, another poisonous gas to overthrow you. And the Lord got creatures that he said I could have made that shoot lasers out of their eyes. So don't think that the Most High just got wild lions and panthers and bears out there. People say lions and tigers and bears, oh my. No, the Lord got all types of stuff he could send out there. Imagine coming into this creature and it can shooting out lasers out their eyes. Imagine coming into the creature, he breathing out fire. So you can't think that the Most High's greatest creature is just a whale. You know, it's not just a whale that you know of today that spews water out of his back and turns on his stomach. The Most High is a man of war. The Lord is into violence too. You know? So let me read on. Whereof not only the harm might dispatch them at once, but also the terrible sight utterly destroy them. That's some heavy stuff. The Lord said, I could create a creature that's so bad that you looking at it will get you killed. You could just drop dead out of fear. And you see that spirit still on certain creatures, because people see lions and they hearts start pounding in their chest. People see large spiders and scorpions and they begin to faint. So how much more a creature newly created that's breathing out fire and shooting lasers out their eyes? You drop dead, man. Wisdom of Solomon 11 and 20. Yea, and without these might they have fallen down with one blast, being persecuted of vengeance, and scattered abroad through the breath of thy power. But thou hast ordered all things in measure and number and weight. Right, because if the Lord didn't do all things in measure, number, and weight, he'll have all these terrible creatures out here. It'd be an unjust balance. So you have to have small creatures, you have to have large creatures, you have to have violent beasts, you have to have peaceable beasts. You know, you have to have a just balance. So the Most High, he has ordered even the creation of living creatures and wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Right? So the dragons that he made are part of these beasts that he created. These are part of the creatures that he decided to create. Let's go to Job 41. Right? Job, we're talking about the dragons because Mordecai had a dream about two dragons. We're breaking down what that dragon actually is. And then we're going to dive into it prophetically. Job chapter 41 and verse 1. Now, one of the Most High's most powerful dragons is a creature named Leviathan that was made on day 5, made on the 5th day. Job 41 and 1. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Meaning you can't go fishing and catch a Leviathan. I've never seen it. It's never happened. You can catch a bass and salmon, and you can't catch a Leviathan. Canst thou put a hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? So Leviathan is a creature that will kill you, right? He'll kill you. That's what the Most High is saying. Will he make a covenant with thee? Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? So you can't have him as a pet, right? You could tame a dolphin. You could swim with the dolphins. I've seen people swim with killer whales. Can you swim with Leviathan? Can you go to, island, Cancun, or, the Fiji Islands, and I want to pay $30 as part of my experience on this island, and I want to decide, do I want to swim with the dolphins, or you know what? I want to swim with a Leviathan. No, you can't tame Leviathan, right? Wilt thou play with him as with the bird, or wilt thou bind him for thy maidens? Shall the companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? Meaning you can't destroy this creature, right? You can't have a fish fry of Leviathan. You can't have a banquet of him with wine and fish. Canst thou fill his skin with barbed iron, or his head with fish spears? Lay thy hand upon him. Remember the battle, do no more. Behold, the hope of him is in vain. Shall not one be cast down, even at the sight of him? And you could be cast down. And I had a picture. Now, this is not the exact picture of Leviathan because we don't know, but this is the closest that, I could find through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel. That's where they get, again, we all know, that's where they get their Godzilla from. Right? This with the Moabites, some Ammonites, they only have the understanding of that because they come from Noah. And remember, Adam actually named every creature. So Adam actually saw Leviathan and he named it. And he told that to his sons and Seth and Enos, and Noah knew about all these creatures. Shem, Ham, and Japheth knew about Leviathan. And they took on their descendants took on their own folklore and traditions about Leviathan and made their own gods and fables based off of this creature. Right? This is Genesis chapter 2 and verse number 19. And out of the ground, Yahweh, Ba'ashmi Abashai, formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called the living creature, that was the name thereof. So Adam named all these creatures. He saw Behemoth. He knew about Leviathan, right? He knew about everything that man is still trying to discover, still uncovering to this day. Adam knew about that. Okay? So this is something that was common amongst our fathers, common knowledge. Esau tries to hunt this dragon. He calls it Nessie. I'm hunting for the Loch Ness monster. Ain't no such Loch Ness monster. Esau done lost his damn mind. They got that picture of Nessie. Right, let me pull this up. I want to get back to this dream, but I had to touch on this. Look at this madness. Look at this. This is the world's most famous picture of the Loch Ness Monster. And they said this was a hoax. This was like a hanger or somebody's long finger curled up. Right? This is the worst. This is not biblical. You know, this is not biblical. So let me get a few more on Leviathan. Right? This is Job 41. And let's jump down. Job 41 and verse number 18. By his neesings a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. So when Leviathan sneezes, it's a spark of fire. Your neesing is a sneeze, you know. So when he sneezes, there's fire and sparks that come out. And his eyelids are a dark orange, like the eyelids of the morning, which is a sunrise. He has dark orange, huge eyes. Out of his mouth go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. So Leviathan, even underwater, can shoot out fire. And the Most High speaks about how fire, he could take the virtue of water away from fire in Wisdom of Solomon. So you don't want to run across this. Right? Again, that's where they get Godzilla shooting out fire. Right? Let me see if I can get that. Breathing fire. Right? You see that? But he does this underwater. He does this underwater. All right? Job 41 and 19. Again, out of his mouth go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke, and out of a seething pot or cauldron. That's out of a seething pot or cauldron. So he heats up that water. Right? All that water underneath, it boils up. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. All right, let's go to Psalms 104. Right, this is Psalms chapter 104 and verse number 25. Psalms 104 and 25. So is this great and wide sea, wherein are things creeping, innumerable, both small and great beasts. So you'll never be able to determine how many creatures are in the water. You'll never know. You got creatures with light bulbs underwater. You know, you got you got invisible octopus down there. You got all types of stuff in the waters. There go the ships. There is that Leviathan whom thou wast made to play therein. Right? So he created Leviathan to have dominion in the waters. All right, let's get one more precept on Leviathan. Right? Because he's a dragon. And you have to understand Leviathan, because the Most High uses the spirit of a dragon to describe man, to describe the so-called white man. Mordecai is described as a dragon. So you have to go to the breakdown of the dragon to understand the prophecy, to have some type of grasp of what the Most High is saying, because he's using creatures that the average brother may not be familiar with. They might think it's just mythology. So we have to go to the etymology and kind of break it down about the creation of the Most High. That's why it's important to touch on this topic, right? Because Isaiah, the 27th chapter, we're going to touch on. Ezekiel, the 29th chapter, and other chapters kind of speak on this, right? And a similitude. I want 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter. Okay, this 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, and let's read verse number. We'll start at 47, right? Now, 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, is a more elaborate understanding of the creation, right, in Genesis. 2nd Ezra 6 and 47. Upon the 5th day, thou saidest unto the 7th part, wherein the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls and fishes, and so it came to pass. So the earth is divided into 6 major land masses, and the 7th part is the water. So even a creation was done into 7 parts, which is a complete work of the Most High. The seventh part is all of the oceans, and they tell you have your multiple oceans. You have your Arctic, your Pacific, your Indian, your Atlantic, right? They got all these different types of bodies of water, but it all means the seventh part. Verse 48, for the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of God, that all people might praise thy wondrous work. So eagles, falcons, canaries, parrots, crocodiles, they all came out of the water. Then didst thou ordain two living creatures. The one thou callest Enoch, and the other Leviathan. So on the fifth day, Enoch was made. Another name for Enoch is Behemoth. You read about Behemoth in Job, the 40th chapter. And Leviathan was also made on the fifth day. One dwells in the sea, one dwells on land. That's the just balance with the Most High. That's that duality. 2nd Ezra 6 and 50. And did it separate the one from the other? For the seventh part, namely where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both, because they're too massive, they're too powerful, they're so great that the Lord had to say, you know what? Y'all can't dwell together. Like Abraham and Lot. There's going to be strife and confusion. One of y'all could dwell in the water, and one of y'all could dwell on land. We haven't seen neither one of these creatures. I don't care what the so-called white man is showing. Unto Enoch thou gavest one part that was dried up the third day. So out of the 6 parts of land, Enoch or Behemoth, he dwells in one of those parts. Man is familiar with the other parts, but man hasn't been to the one part where Enoch is at, Behemoth. Otherwise, you would have encountered him. All right, let me jump up a little bit. Let me jump up just a little bit. 2nd Ezra 6 and 42. Upon the third day, thou didst command that the water should be gathered in the seventh part of the earth. 6 parts hast thou dried up and kept them, to the intent that of these some being planted of God and tilled might serve thee. So there are 6 parts of the earth. Enoch, or this Behemoth, he lives in one of the 6 parts. Right? He lives in one of the 6 parts of the earth. Let's go back down. 2nd Ezra 6 and 51. Let's read it again. Unto Enoch thou gavest one part, which was dried up the third day, that he should dwell in the same part wherein are 1,000 hills. And again, we don't know exactly kind of where that's at. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the 7th part, namely the moist, and hast kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt and when. So the Lord kept Leviathan to be devoured of whom the Lord chooses and when. So the Lord has these 2 creatures, right, in his creation. Now, Leviathan, again, is a dragon, right? He's a dragon. Now, let's go to Job, the 3rd chapter. Right, this is Job chapter 3 and verse number, let's start at 6. This is Job actually cursing his birth because of all of the hell that he caught and all of the pain that he was going through. Job chapter 3 and verse 6. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined into the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of months. He was praying that the Most High just took him out. Lost 7 sons, 3 daughters, all his land, cattle, all of that. He was going through it. Verse 7. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. So he knew about people, we broke this down before, that would put curses on certain days. right? You have people that could put curses on people and on days. All right. I'm gonna curse that day. You're gonna have a cursed day today. People break their leg and the damn it rain only on them and they get into a car accident, or people do that. They have power on the left-hand side. For the events to befall you become unfortunate, full of failure and distress. Those same people, it says, who are ready to raise up their mourning. Now, here's why it's important to go into that Hebrew. What does it mean who are ready to raise up their mourning? That word mourning, it means in the Hebrew, Leviathan, right? Leviathan. So you have creature or people, and I want to get that in another translation. Like Elisha. Remember Elisha, he's summoned by the Spirit of the Most High 2 she-bears in 2 Kings, the 2nd chapter. And those she-bears devoured 42 children. He had power to do that. The wise men of Pharaoh, they were able to summon serpents and summon and deal with other creatures. So you have people on the left-hand side that could work with creatures and beasts to do their bidding with demonic work. See, we could do it on the right-hand side when you really tapped in, and they do it on the left-hand side because they really tapped in. So Job is talking about these men that had this power to be able to do these things. Let me see if I can get that in another translation. All right, let's go to Job, the 3rd chapter. Who are ready to raise up Leviathan. All right, let's go to Job 3. All right, we're just going to touch on that. And as we get the complete understanding of a dragon, we'll be able to truly understand the vision that Mordecai had for Purim. All right, that he had concerning the upcoming feast day. Let's get this. Okay, see that? Right? Other translations, NLT. Let those who are experts at cursing, whose cursing could rouse Leviathan, curse the day. Imagine that you have people who are so into tune with demons, so into tune on the left-hand side. They're experts at it. Top wise men. Like Baalam. Whoever Baalam cursed, they was cursed. And Numbers, the 22nd chapter, 23rd and 24th chapter. Whoever Baalam blessed, he was blessed. Some people were so strong on that left-hand side, they could rouse up Leviathan. So you gotta watch out from these damn warlocks and evil men, right? ESV. Let those curse it who curse the day, who are ready to rouse up Leviathan. Right? BSB. May it be cursed by those who curse the day, those prepared to rouse up Leviathan. So these are men on the left-hand side who could deal with all types of creatures and beasts and rouse them up by conjuring up demons to work on the minds of those creatures to bring havoc on the sons of God. These things, this is real. This is not a fable. You saw what those wise men of Egypt were able to do. You saw what Baalam, his power he was able to do. You saw the witch of Endor. Why is it hard to understand that? She saw gods ascending up and out of the earth. There are high-level forces on the left-hand side that are at work in the last days. Summoning, riling up, all types of hell on the earth, man. So these precepts have to be broken down so we understand what's going on. Let's go to Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 51. All right, that's a hell of a person, man, that can rouse up a lion on you or rouse up a bear on you. Isaiah chapter 51 and verse number, let's read 9. Okay, Isaiah 51 and 9. Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of Yahweh. Awake as in the ancient days, in the generations of old. Art thou not it that have cut Rahab and wounded the dragon, So the Lord is asking the Most High to awake, to stir himself up, send his son Yahushua, deliver us from captivity. He said, aren't you the same power that cut Rahab and wounded the dragon? What is Isaiah talking about? Because he's letting us know that the Most High cut Rahab and wounded the dragon. Now, Rahab is going to this word. We're going into a lot of words, maps, timelines, right? Rahab is another name for the Egyptian empire, but it's likened unto a sea monster, a sea creature named Rahab, a dragon, right? Rahab, it means storm, arrogance, mythical sea monster. That's why they call it a dragon. Emblematic name of Egypt. Why? Because Egypt was a violent, oppressing, wicked kingdom. So the Lord called it Rahab the dragon. All right, it's called a dragon. Fierceness, insolence, pride, proud helpers. This is the Jacinius Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. And these are spirits that were in that Egyptian empire that the Lord cut down in the ancient times. A poetical name of Egypt, probably of Egyptian origin, but accommodated to the Hebrew language. However, no one has yet shown a probable etymology in the Coptic language, etc., etc., etc. Right? But the point of the matter is, it's going into a sea monster, which is a dragon, which was a name given to the Egyptian empire. Let's go to Psalms 89 and 10. Right? Psalms chapter 89 and 10. It reads, thou hast broken Rahab in pieces. As one that is slain, thou hast scattered thine enemies with a strong arm. When did the Most High break Rahab in pieces? When did this happen? Well, this happened when the Lord overthrew the Egyptian army in the Red Sea. When he sent turned the water into blood. Frogs, flies, lice, locusts, plagues on the cattle, boils. You understand? All plagues the Most High gave the Egyptians. That was him cutting Rahab in pieces. So you read about Rahab, a dragon. You read about Leviathan, a dragon. These are just creatures, but it's really the spirit of them that the Most High uses to describe man. Right? Let's go to Isaiah 27. And that's why he said, in addition to Esther, that I'm one of the dragons and Haman is one of the dragons. Isaiah chapter 27 and 1. And that's why I'm going to say one more thing. A lot of Israelites, what I've heard, been in the truth, that they think that Leviathan is just is not a real creature. They think it's a person. Because they'll see certain verses like we're about to read Isaiah 27, or we read in Isaiah 59 or Psalms 89. They can't discern if Leviathan is real or not, or is a dragon real or not. Let's read Isaiah 27 and 1. This precept is a stumbling block sometimes to brothers, but we're going to break it down. Isaiah 27 and 1. And that day the Lord with his sword and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Is that literal? Is the Lord literally going to kill Leviathan for his wickedness? Is he going to chop Leviathan up in pieces because he sinned against him? And send the missiles? No, that's not what it's talking about. He's talking about destroying the so-called white man. The so-called white man is that same, or has that same spirit of the actual creature Leviathan. He breathes out fire through his missiles. He controls the waters, which are the nations. He's the top predator on the earth. He's a violent man. He's a serpent in his spirit. So Isaiah 27 isn't talking about an actual creature, but he's talking about the so-called white man. Right? Let's do Revelation chapter 13 and 11. Revelation 13 and 11. Here's what John the Revelator saw, right? And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So the so-called white man, this is really going into America, they come off like a lamb. They come off with their strengths of Christianity and democracy. That's their two horns, right? Your horn represents strength and power. But they speak as a dragon. They're really into taking over your financial system, taking your children, popping them, draining their blood, freaking off with them, sacrificing them, taking your gold, turning your men into homosexuals, turning your daughters and women into whores, harvesting up all of your gold and all of your oil out of the earth, and utterly enslaving you forever and ever. So they come off peaceable as if they're here to set up universities or heal you of malaria or show you how to have plumbing and whatever. But they're there to kill you. They speak as a dragon. Never trust the so-called white man. Never trust the so-called white man. The Lord said in Proverbs 26 and 25, when he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Yeah, even at your job, man, a lot of you brothers, you're getting too close to these Edomites at your job. Oh, they won't do me any wrong. Just because they smile at your face, hold the door for you, y'all crack jokes and he bought you lunch or you got a promotion from an Edomite, or that don't mean a damn thing. A lot of brothers, they think that their co-workers are their friends. They don't think that about you, but that's what you think about them. I love my boss. I have a cool boss. He's at home saying, how can I use this guy, man, until I don't need him anymore? Or your neighbor too. Every so-called white man, they come off fair, but they really got abominations in their mind, whose hatred, Proverbs 25 and 26, is covered by deceit. His wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. So it's a matter of time. It's only a matter of time for that true evil come out, and you're going to see it. That's why it's best to identify and don't put your trust in this man, because that evil is going to come out. It's going to come out, and you're going to fall victim to it if you're not prudent and if you're not circumspect. Right? Let's go to Revelation 12. Right? Let's get one more precept on the dragon. Right? And then we'll move on. So we understand exactly what the dragon means and why Haman is being called a dragon. Not that he's some mythological creature that protects treasure, waiting to be destroyed by some knight in shining armor, but rather he is a violent creature that controls the waters, that has dominion over the earth and rules the other nations. So the Lord took that spirit and applied it to Esau. Just like the Lord took the spirit of a lion and applied it to Yahushua. Due to the lion's boldness and his spirit of being a king, that was applied and attributed to Yahushua. Revelation chapter 12 and verse number 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. So this goes into the Roman Empire. Now it's plain. Why are they red? Let's go to Genesis 25 and 25. Why is this dragon red? Genesis chapter 25 and 25. Well, who came out red? Right? We remember Genesis 25 and 25. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau, right? Which is the brother of Jacob. But he came out red. His melanin, his pigment was wasted away. His blood was showing forth through his skin. Transparent, translucent, whatever word you would like to use, that was Esau's skin complexion. That's why in Revelation, he's called red because he is that same violent creature. Okay? And the seven heads are his seven major provinces of the Roman Empire, right? Greece and Rome, and Spain and France and Germany, Great Britain, Russia. 10 horns are his smaller countries, for lack of better terms, and provinces that he had in the Roman Empire. He's the great red dragon. Right? Let's read on. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Right. So this so-called white man, the Roman Empire, took down some of the stars of heaven. Some of the stars of heaven represent the Israelites. We are the stars. That's Genesis, the 37th chapter, 9 on down, where Joseph said that the 11 stars made obeisance. The sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. So we're the stars of heaven. A third part of the stars is a certain amount of Israelites that were taken down by the Roman Empire, primarily Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And a dragon ready to devour the woman and the child before it was born goes into the Roman Empire through Herod the Great, looking to kill Yahushua, which further shows that that dragon is the so-called white man, because Herod the Great was a so-called white man. He was an Idumean who sought to kill Yahushua. Go to Matthew, the 2nd chapter. All right. Matthew chapter 2 and verse number, let's see, 2 and 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. So that links directly up with Revelation, the 12th chapter. Herod, being a so-called white man, has sought to destroy the Israelites, primarily Yahushua. Herod goes back to Antipater the Idumean, right? Antipater the Idumean is the forefather of Herod the Great. His name is literally Antipater the Edomite. Antipater the First, the Idumean, was the founder of the Herodian dynasty and father of Herod the Great. So Herod the Great was an Edomite. His father, Antipater the Edomite, or the Idumean, was of Esau as well. So that red dragon that sought to devour Yahushua is the Roman Empire, and it's the Edomites, because it goes into Herod the Great, who comes from Antipater, Antipater the Idumean, right? Antipater the Idumean. Let's go back to Additions of Esther. Okay? Additions of Esther, chapter 11, Slakia. Right? Additions of Esther 11 and 6. And behold, two great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great. So we read about one of the dragons. One of the dragons are the Edomites. They're that violent creature. They're that serpent called the devil and Satan. That's one of the dragons. And I would be going off if I didn't read Revelation 12 and 9. Revelation chapter 12 and 9. And the dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So this lets you know that the so-called white man is the devil. For everybody that questions, why do you say that the white man is Satan? Why is the so-called white man a devil? God said that, man. The Most High said that. We broke down that the serpent, this dragon, are the Roman Empire, the Edomites, but John is calling them the devil. You mean to tell me the best friend of Yahweh Shai called the white man the devil? How come Yahweh Shai didn't check John and say, John, you shouldn't say that? That's racist. The white man can make it. All they got to do is repent. He called all of these Edomites the devil. John did. The beloved, the disciple whom Yahweh Shai loved, the revelator. So are we wrong for calling the so-called white man Satan? No. Esther actually called the white man Satan. Right? Let me get that. I believe that's Esther. I have to get that, man. Esther, the 7th chapter. Since we're talking about Purim, here it is. Esther 7 and verse 6. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. Now, the Satan goes back to the Hebrew word shaitan, which means adversary. Now, this word, I don't believe this word directly translates to adversary. Right? Let's see. See, they just have man. Ayash. And they went off right there. They went off. Right? Ayash is man in the Hebrew. But this word really is shaitan. That's what Satan means. Let me get another one. Let me get that. Let's get that in Job. Okay. Right. In Job 1 and 6. Let's see. Satan, shaitan, and it means adversary, one who withstands. So Esther called the so-called white man Satan. She said this adversary and this evil person is Haman, paraphrasing. So even the so-called black woman, you know, when she was in her right mind at that time, they weren't cooning and dating the so-called white man and loving them. And she said, this, and he the devil. Let's read it again. Esther 7 and 6. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. So she called the so-called white man a devil. So was Esther, she called him Satan. Was Esther off? Did she go off? When did the Lord come to Esther by night and say, hold on, Esther, thou hast called Haman a devil. You called him Satan. Thou shouldst not have done so, but surely thou shalt go through 3 years of famine. No. That's your adversary. That's our enemy. They're against us from the womb. So in Revelation 12 and 9, the so-called white man being called the devil and Satan, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. We understand that. He's that first dragon. The second dragon represents the children of Israel. Now, we're not called a dragon because of our violence. We're called a dragon because of how we were crying out. Right? Again, addition to Esther, chapter 10 and 7. And the two dragons are I and Haman. So Mordecai was called a dragon. And Mordecai was called a dragon because he was crying out to the Most High. Right? Screaming and crying out like all of the Jews, all of the Israelites. Haman was crying out, but he was screaming and crying wickedness to get the Israelites put to death and to get them destroyed. So there's a difference right there. Right? There's a difference. Let's go back to additions of Esther. Additions of Esther, chapter 11 and 7. And at their cry, all nations were prepared to battle, that they might fight against the righteous people. So the days are coming where this devil is going to cry out against us, and we're going to cry out against them and to the Most High. At that same time, these other nations and all nations, chiefly the so-called white man, they're going to fight to destroy us. Why? Why would they do that? I mean, what have we done? Well, we're the ones who are calling them out on their wickedness. We're the ones that are bringing the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashmiah Shai back on the earth. We're the ones who are, it's like you're calling up the devil to their face, liberating the people who they spent billions of dollars to keep docile and asleep. We are, and we've always said it before, when I say we, the men of the Lord who are out there teaching the children of Israel, right? The elect, right? We're teaching the elect, most high willing. Lord willing, we're the elect, but most high willing, the souls that are edified are the elect. So us being able to go out there and do that work is the number one threat to the so-called white man. And like we always say, he'll act like it's Iran. He'll say it's the war on drugs. He'll come out and say it's climate change and fossil fuels and carbon footprints and global warming and the latest disease and the Taliban and Al Qaeda and ISIS and Hezbollah and Iran and Kim Jong-un. That's nothing but madness. That's what he teaches you, so you don't know who he's really after. He's really after us. Let's read that. And let me get this first. Why is he after us? Let's go to Esther, the 3rd chapter. Why is he coming after us? Here's the reason why. The same reason he came after Haman. This is Esther chapter 3 and 1. After these things, did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So this guy, he's an Amalekite. He goes back to King Agag. He's a Macedonian that goes back to Agag. Agag is the Amalekite king that Saul was supposed to kill, but Samuel ended up hewing him up in pieces. All right, let's get that in 1 Samuel real quick. So he goes back to Agag. 1 Samuel chapter 20, it's like chapter 15, and verse number, I want to get straight to the point, verse 32. 1 Samuel 15 and 32. Then said Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. So Agag was a homosexual. That's why he came to him delicately, meaning he was switching like a woman on his tippy toes. And he had that homosexual accent that all them sodomites have. Talking about surely the bitterness of death is past. Oh, I'm glad no more death, right? So, hey, this shows that the so-called white man's a natural-born homosexual, walking delicately, right? Talking about surely the bitterness of death is past, man. Let's see what happened. Because Saul was supposed to kill all these Amalekites, but he took the king captive. He got checked for it. He lost the kingdom over that. And Samuel said, as thy sword hath made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before Yahweh, Ba'ashmiah Shai, and Gilgal. So Samuel got down. Samuel wasn't just prophesying, he was hacking kings in pieces. Right? And Haman was exalted. And he came out of that lineage from the Agagites that lived in Macedonia, that lived in Greece. Let's read on. Esther 3 and 2. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him, but Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. And that's like now, all these nations bowed down to the so-called white man. Now we know that a lot of them are beginning to rise up, but for a long, long period of time, every nation has bowed down to the policies, to the military, to the religions, doctrines of the so-called white man. Everybody except us in these last days. We're not bowing down. We're not giving the so-called white man any reverence. We don't have any reverence for his lies, his violence, his confusion in the earth. So we are Mordecai. Mordecai is us. And all nations, they love this man. They love this beast. Let's go to Revelation, the 13th chapter. Revelation chapter 13 and verse number 4. Right? And they worship the dragon. See that? Which gave power unto the beast. And they worship the beast, saying, who is likened to the beast, who is able to make war with him. So when the Roman Empire came back into power, all of the other dark nations and the other heathen, they said, wow, there's nobody like the so-called white man. Nobody has a mind like him. Nobody can come out of the caves and just be prospering during the Renaissance and take over the age of discovery and exploration and artwork and military might, and they just took over to the point where the nation said, hey, we throw in the towel. Nobody can go to war with this devil. Nobody could be like him. That's what they did in the days of Esther. They all bowed down except Mordecai. The Lord said in Romans, the 11th chapter, he said, I have reserved for myself 7,000 men which have not bowed their knee to the image of Baal. So we don't bow down to the so-called white man. Esther 3:3. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgresseth thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, that's how Satan is, to try to get you to bow down. Satan will come at you every day to get you to sin. And he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew. So they snitched on him. Co-workers snitched on him. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. I mean, this is what it's all about. This is why they're going to come after us, because of Esther 3 and 5. Because everybody bows down to this new world order. Everybody's conforming to this system. We're not going to do it. We're going to be willing to die if it be the will of the Most High. Chop my damn head off if you have to, man. We're going to be like Most High willing, the 7 sons of Maccabees. In 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter. Eleazar, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, that was thrown in the lion's den. They said, O king, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. I don't got to think about if I'm a serve the Most High or not. Mordecai didn't have to think about this, man. Daniel, he said he knew that the writing was signed. He went into his house, as he did aforetime, and with his windows being open, prayed to Jerusalem, paraphrasing. Daniel knew they was out to get him, man. And he still served the Most High. The 3 holy children knew the law at the sound of the dulcimer, the sackbut, the psaltery, the harp, the flute, cornet, and all kinds of music. You have to bow down. They said, we ain't bowing down to you, man. You have to kill me. They came to the Eleazar. Hey, look, eat this pork. Matter of fact, pretend you eat pork. Hey, Eleazar said, send me to the grave. So you always have men like that. You always have our fathers where everybody goes into the spirit of apostasy and to bow down and conform. The elect will never bow down. That's you, because you cut into that pride of the so-called white man. So Haman was full of wrath. Let's see what he did. Let's go to Additions of Esther, chapter 13 and verse number 3. Hey, man, if you bow down and kiss the ring of a so-called white man, shame on you. You bow down in the last days to his new world order, his system he wants to set up. You bow down to his philosophies and religion. Shame on you. Be like Mordecai. I don't want to lose my job. You think Mordecai was thinking about losing his position? Don't the scriptures say, esteeming the reproaches of Christ better riches than that of Egypt? For he had recompense unto the reward. Hey, Mordecai was getting money, man. He was in the king's court. He wasn't somewhere making shoes. He was paid. He had position. He had power. He said, to hell with that, man. I'll lose it all. I ain't bowing down to no damn white man. The hell with Esau. Let me get that in Hebrews 11th chapter. That's the spirit we have to be in. If you're not in that spirit in these last days, I don't know what spirit you in. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 24. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. So he denied all those privileges and all of the wealth that came with that title, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. He said, I'd rather catch hell with my people, man, than to have fun with my enemy. Esteeming the reproach of Hamashiach Yahushai greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had a recompense unto the reward, or of the reward. That's the same spirit Mordecai had. He was willing to lose it all to gain it all. And really, Paul said, I counted all things but dung. And Philippians, the 3rd chapter. Let me get that too, man. He said, man, this is dung. This ain't nothing. Dung is S-H-I-T, right? Philippians chapter 3 and verse number, let's start at, let's see, 8. This is what I want. I'm going to start at 7. Because Paul had a lot too, man. Remember, Paul, he came from a prominent family. He had a worldly reputation. You know, he was a top guy. He tells you that. But here's what he said. Philippians 3 and 7. But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Hamashiach Yahushua. Are you willing to lose your job for this truth? It's only a matter of time before they find out about you. It's only a matter of time before you get pulled up. Before they see the videos. Before the law goes out concerning how we dress and what we do and, you know, telltales on who's an Israelite. I mean, it's only a matter of time. Before they kick down our doors, grab us up, throw us in these concentration camps that they're building. You see what's going on right now, war in the Middle East. You know Jacob's trouble is immediately coming. What about your house? Are you willing to lose it? Your car, relationships. What are you willing to lose to gain eternal life? The Lord said, if any man come after me, let him deny himself. And you have so many examples, so you shouldn't stumble at the promises, because all of our fathers forsook it all to follow the Most High, who is all. Let's read it again. Philippians 3 and 7. But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Hamashiach. Yea, doubtless, and I count all things but loss, for the excellency of the knowledge of Hamashiach Yahushua my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win Hamashiach Yahushua. And I'm going to just be transparent, right? He said, all this stuff that I ever had, it ain't shit. It's lock you for the language, hey, but sometimes you got to say it how it is. That's what he said. Oh, why would you say? I mean, that's what Paul said. Get mad at Paul. We have to win Yahushua, man. And that was on Mordecai's mind. Mordecai saw this so-called white man. I'm not bowing down to this damn devil, man. So he proceeded to come up with a plan. They did that to actual Mordecai, and now they're doing that to us because we're not bowing down to this image. We're not bowing down to his system. We speak up against homosexuality. We speak up against idolatry. We speak up against his wickedness that he does, his child molestation, his lies, his deception. We speak out fervently against it. And we're not bowing down to Haman. So here's their plan. Addition to Esther, chapter 13 and 4. Declared unto us that in all nations throughout the world there were scattered a certain malicious people that had laws contrary to all nations, and continually despised the commandments of kings, so as the uniting of our kingdoms, honorably intended by us, cannot go forward. We cannot unite all nations. We can't have a one world order, a new world order. Because we can get all of the Moabites, all of the Ishmaelites, all of the Ammonites, all of the Hamites and Japhites. We can get them there easy. We've gotten them before. We'll do it again. But one people we can't get down are these Israelites, man. They're in the way. Everybody else will conform except the Israelites. We cannot continue our enterprise until we kill the ancient apostles and prophets. That's what Haman said. That's what Esau said. If you ever wanted to know what's going on in the Blindenberg group, these royal houses of councils that these devils are having, this is what they're talking about. Seeing then we understand that this people alone is continually in opposition unto all men, differing in the strange manner of their laws, and evil affected to our state, working all the mischief that they can, that our kingdom may not be firmly established. They said, man, we can't establish a new world order because the Israelites are working mischief. That's what they're saying. This video to them is mischief. Us prophesying World War III and the end of the world, it's like it to them, that's mischief. Us saying that you cannot be a child molester, a blood drinking demon on an island, worshiping Molech and Baal. I mean, to the honest man, that's virtuous. That's strong rebuke and godliness on the earth. To the so-called white man, when you say that, that's mischief in their eyes. They hate him that rebuketh in the gate. They abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Let's read on. Therefore, addition to Esther 13 and 6. Therefore have we commanded that all they that are signified in writing unto you by Haman, who is ordained over the affairs and is next unto us, shall all with their wives and children be utterly destroyed by the sword of their enemies, without all mercy and pity, the 14th day of the 12th month of Adar of this present year. And this is coming back on the earth. These devils have a set date and set time that they want to come after us and destroy us, our wives, and our children. Don't think that the days of Purim are just 2,500 years ago. That the so-called white man, he's beyond this and he moved on. No. They cast lots and say, you know what? Here's where we're going to take down Mordecai. These devils have deep counsels. These devils they're very strategic and they see it far off. So just like in the ancient world, they said we're going to cut down all of the Israelites on the 14th day of the 12th month. Whatever that time is they have, the Most High know it when they're going to come after us. So these days of Purim aren't just days that we read about in Esther and they're long behind us. No, they're coming back again, right? The Lord said he requires that which is past. Let's go to Revelation, the 12th chapter. And all nations and all these heathen are going to come after us all over again, right? And we're going to read that. Revelation chapter 12 and 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So there are similar words right here. It says, and the dragon was wroth with the woman. What does it say in Esther, the 3rd chapter? And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. He was wroth with the woman. And Haman, that dragon, because remember, Mordecai said, Haman is a dragon, I am a dragon. Haman went to make war against the Israelites. John the Revelator seeing another dragon come on the earth, another Haman, which are these modern day Edomites, and they're wroth with us for the exact same reason they were wroth with Mordecai. He went to make war against Mordecai and all of the Jews, and he's going to make war against us and all of the Jews, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. And the testimony of Yahweh Shah is what? The spirit of prophecy, pursuant to Revelation chapter 19 and verse 10. So there's no new thing under the sun. No new thing under the sun. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 12. Right? This is Zechariah chapter 12 and verse number 2. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, where they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. So the Lord is going to put a spirit on these heathen to come against all of the Israelites. Again, like we're saying, the days of Purim, they're coming back. And it's by a lot. It's by a lot all over again. Because the Most High is in control. And the Lord has had a set time where he has determined where he's going to use this devil to come against us, that we can call upon him and be saved. Now, the word Purim means lot. When you go back to it, pur, which means lot. Now, ultimately, the lot was cast by Haman for the set time, but the lot really belongs to the Most High on when this event is going to happen. The lot belongs to the Most High. A lot is something that's done by chance, where human influence is removed from the equation, such as modern day examples are like rolling dice, right? Pulling straws or flipping a coin. You understand? Those are events of chance where man cannot influence or alter the outcome. So they would cast lots in the ancient world to determine what can be done without the influence of man. And I gave a few examples. Now, the Most High, he casts lots, right? This is Proverbs 16:33. The lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing thereof is of the Lord. So the Lord determines the ultimate outcome. And everybody has a lot. A lot is essentially for lack of better terms, a destiny, a path. Everybody has their own fate, their own journey. Your outcome has been predetermined by Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua. The Lord has disposed what my lot is going to be. The Lord has showed he's disposed what your lot is going to be. Some men are going to have their head chopped off. Some men are going to be delivered. Some men are going to fall back in the world. The Lord has disposed to every spirit what their outcome is going to be in these last days. That's his disposition, because he's the father of spirits. Right? Let's go to Psalms chapter 16. This is Psalms chapter 16 and verse number 5. Quick precept on lots. The Lord is the portion of mine inheritance and of my cup. Thou maintainest my lot. So David's lot is to be the elect, right? To be the king. And the Lord was maintaining his lot because the Lord always delivered David from every situation. The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places. Yea, I have a goodly heritage. So the lines fallen unto you are like a similitude of boundaries of lands. When you get a great piece of land by the water and with milk and honey and resources, those are beautiful lines. So David is essentially saying that, man, I have a beautiful lot. I'm a Judite. Out of me is going to come forth the Yahushua. I'm king. You understand? I have the whole land. I've never lost in war. I have top generals. I built the temple. I mean, when can I lose? How can I lose? I have a goodly heritage. I have a beautiful lot. So David knew his lot. Daniel knew his lot. The Lord told Daniel, you're going to stand in your lot at the last days. The Lord told Ezra, you have the tree of life. So certain men, they knew about their lots. Do we know about our lot? No, we don't know. Right? We don't know. David knew. All right? David knew. Everybody has a lot. So, okay, yes, the so-called white man in the days of Esther, he had a time when he was going to come against Israel, but that wasn't his time. It was really the Most High's time. This devil has a time he wants to come against Israel again because we're not bowing down. Is that his time? Yes, but it's really the Most High's time. So Purim is not a one-time event. The casting of lots have already been done, and the outcome of the lot is going to take place forever and ever and ever. Right? Forever, even in the kingdom. That's the lot of those individuals. This was already predetermined in the spirit world. That's when the lot was cast. On what spirits are going to be chosen, what spirits are going to be sanctified. The lot is the disposition of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai before the foundation of the world. Let's go back to this. Zechariah chapter 14 and verse number 3. And in that day, I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. Just like Purim in the days of Mordecai. All the people gathered themselves against the Israelites. They all did. Right? They all gathered. Zechariah is about a future time when all these nations, chiefly the so-called white man, they're going to come against us. Now you may ask, well, hold on. Well, what's going to happen to us? If you want to know what's going to happen, what our lot is going to be, go back and read Esther. See what the lot was of us back then. Ain't no new thing under the sun. Well, what's going to happen in those days? Go back and read Esther. The two dragons, their lot fell out. Back then, and those two dragons are going to fall out again. They're going to have the same lot. The lot is already cast. Thinking of a few precepts. Let me get this about the ultimate. You know what? Let me get this first, right? And I don't want to lose these precepts I want to get. I want to get Romans 9. Then I want to get Esther, the 6th chapter. Right? I want to get Esther, the 6th chapter after this. This is Romans chapter 9. And let's read verse number, I mean, this whole thing is good. 13. Oh, man. Let's read 11. Romans 9 and 11. For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand. Not of works, but of him that calleth. So these children are Jacob and Esau. Before they did any good, before they did any evil, God elected who's going to be saved and who's going to be destroyed. The lot was already cast. That's his election. That's the disposition of the creator of heaven and earth. Romans 9 and 12. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. That's the lot of the so-called white man. His total outcome is to be a slave for Jacob, and then ultimately be exterminated off the face of the earth. And there's no deviation. There's nothing that the so-called white man could do to change his lot. So why are people fearful about what these devils are doing? Oh, they got detention centers. Oh, they got FEMA camps. Oh, they got the guillotine. One of my head chopped off. And hey, look, brother, the elder's going to serve the younger. Yeah, I know that, but what about now? Hey, look, man. What you mean, what about now? And that's why I want to get this precept real quick in Esther, the 6th chapter. Right? I was reading Esther at the plantation on my break. Again, and this was Esther, the 5th chapter, Salakia. No, that's not what I want. Salakia. It's the 6th chapter. This Esther chapter 6 and verse number 13. And Haman told Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends, everything that had befallen him, how the Most High embarrassed him and humiliated him when you read this chapter. Check this out. Then said his wise men and Zeresh, his wife, unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shall surely fall before him. You can't get around that. That's what his woman told him. This is what the so-called white woman said. If Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, then there's nothing you can do. You're going to fall. You're starting to fall already. That's what they told him. And you're not going to prevail. We're going to prevail. That's what Yasha'Allah means. He is a prince of God. We prevailed. How the hell? Well, we already set up to prevail, but the so-called white man is going to prevail against us. No, absolutely not. Now, this applies to us. If we're the seed of the Jews, and these devils, they're already beginning to fall. Look at them, $36 trillion in debt. Enterprise ships full of feces. All nations hate them. Civil unrest. Incompetent leadership. They've begun to fall. They already started falling. And they knew back then, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shall surely fall before him. So we already know their lot. Anybody that come against us, they gonna fall. Because we from the seed of the Jews. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I don't care what anybody said. You got to think about this at your workplace. Think about this with people who despise you, who hate you. If you come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you in this truth, whoever come against you, they gonna fall. They gonna fall. We know that for a certainty. That's the lot of Esau. The elder's gonna serve the younger. Let's read more about their lot. Romans 9-13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with the Most High? God forbid. Right? So God isn't wrong. He's not unfair because he hates Esau before Esau was born. Right? That's not unrighteous. Let's find out why that's not unrighteous. For he said to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of the Most High that showeth mercy. So it has nothing to do with what you want to do or what you're currently doing. Your lot is according to the Most High's mercy. Straight up and down. You watching the live, you been in the truth, me doing this lesson, whatever you've done today, that was the will of the Most High. It had nothing to do with what you thought. Last time I read in Proverbs 19-21, it says there are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. Romans 9-17. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, Even for the same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. So the same way that the Lord raised up the Egyptian army and the Egyptian kingdom and made them the top kingdom on the earth in medicine, war, philosophy, architecture, wealth, military might. He gave them all that to build them up, just to break them down. The Lord is doing that here in America. He's raising up America and has raised them up just to break them down. That everybody can understand that Yahweh Bashmel Shah, he's the top dog. He's the power. He's the most high. He's the true God. He runs the heaven and the earth. He rules in the kingdom of men. And everybody on the earth, it say that they're reputed as nothing. The most high run the show. And he has to remind the children of men that he's the most high. And he's going to get his name and reputation back on the earth. That's his will. Therefore, hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will, he hardeneth. Thou was saying to me, why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? So you might say, well, Lord, that's still not fair. Why are you finding fault? And, they didn't have a choice. That's not fair. To hate somebody before they were born, build them up just to kill them so you can get your name back. That's not fair. Maybe there's another way. Maybe you should do it like this, or maybe Esau can make it. Or here's what the Most High said. Nay, but oh man. Basically, the Most High said, look, shut up. You're just a man. A lot of people want to act like they're the Most High, like you equal, like you could question the Most High. The Lord, you ain't peers with the Most High. Shall the thing formed is going to tell you that. And the Lord said, woe to him that striveth with his maker. Oh, Lord God, well, Esau, he never really had a chance because from the womb, you should have gave him the opportunity. The Lord said, look, man, watch your mouth. Watch your damn mouth. Nay, but oh man. Don't read this like an old so-called white man. Nay, but oh man. No, it's, hey, look, watch your mouth, man. That's like your son and questioning you and, well, why is this like this? And eventually you say, look, stay in the child place. It's grown folks talking. Hey, you see me on the phone. These are stuff you tell your children. Hey, I'm on the phone. Hey, these grown folks talking. Go in the other room. Stay in the child's place. Neighbor, oh man, who art thou that repliest against the Most High? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? The Lord said, hey, look, you just a thing. Remember that. You ain't nobody. Watch your mouth. You're just a thing to me. Because man start feeling himself. The Lord had to humiliate you, man, remind you and humble you. You're just a thing. So the lot was already cast. We can't question it. We just thank the most. We thank Yahweh Bashmel Shai that we're Israelites. Man, I couldn't imagine being a God. Dog, if I was an Edomite, man, and I knew that this was the truth, I don't know what I would do, man. Man, the water Yahweh Bashmel Shai that we're not the Edomites, that we're not Haman, that we're in this truth. It's really, when you think about it, it's fearful. When you think about all of the outcomes that could have befell us, brothers had near-death experiences, and people, tried to hinder you from accepting the word of the Lord and the sins that you was into, worthy of death. Now you in this truth. You understand the precepts, and you about to keep major holy days. Thank the Most High that we are not an Edomite now. God damn. Right? Let's go back to Esther. So we read in Zechariah, the 12th chapter, that all nations are going to come against Israel to destroy us. Right, let's go to Isaiah 59 and 19. Isaiah chapter 59 and verse number 19. It reads, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. And the enemy is going to come like a flood. A flood is something that's uncontrollable, that consumes and devours, and you can't really maintain it. And that's how these devils are going to come against us. It doesn't say if the enemy comes like a flood, it says when. At a set time, month, year, second, the enemy is going to come against us like a flood of waters to drown us in violence. At that same time, Yahweh Bashmi Abashah is going to lift up a standard against him, which is this truth and deliverance. That's what the Most High is going to do. And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression in Jacob, said the Lord. That's who the Lord is going to redeem. Let's go to Isaiah, the 17th chapter. So Purim is coming back. All nations sought to kill us back then. All nations at a set time, they're coming to destroy us again. At the decree of the dragon. Isaiah chapter 17 and verse number 12. Woe to the multitude of many people, which make a noise like the noise of the seas, and to the rushing of nations that make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but the Most High shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before the whirlwind. So they're going to come after us, man. And we ain't going no damn where. The Most High going to fight for us, and we're going to hold our peace. This is the outcome. This is our lot if we're part of that number. The Lord going to rebuke them, and the Lord going to chase them. Verse 14. Now check this out. And behold, at evening tide, trouble. Evening tide is this nighttime, Jacob's trouble. That's the trouble. It's Jacob's trouble, the great tribulation. And behold, at evening tide, trouble, and before the morning, he is not. The morning is when the sun arises, when Yahweh Shah returns to deliver us. The Lord said, weeping shall endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And Psalms 30. Right, let's get that. And at evening tide, he is not, like he had at evening tide trouble, and before the morning, he is not. Here's a precept. Let's get two of them. Psalms chapter 30 and 5. For his anger endureth but a moment, and his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. This is the nighttime right now of oppression, of weeping, of anguish, of sorrow, of the devil coming against us. But our joy is coming in the morning, not at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, but when Yahweh Shah returns. Him arising to deliver us out of darkness is equivalent in a parabolic sense of the morning time, which totally gets rid of darkness. Let's get Malachi 4. Okay. Malachi chapter 4 and verse number 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be as stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. That's by means of the chariots and by means of the missiles. The wicked are going to literally feel like they're inside of an oven. And they're going to melt, pursuant to Zechariah, the 14th chapter, from the head to the toe. Here's the point. But unto you that fear my name, shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. So the Lord said, the Son of righteousness is going to arise. This word sun is spelled S-U-N. It's a title for Yahweh Shai because he represents that morning time to deliver us from darkness. He's the key factor that transitions us from darkness to light. The purpose of the sun is to be the greater light that rules over the day. Right? So that's Yahweh Shai. He's the greater light that's going to rule over the day. Back in Isaiah the 17th chapter, in verse 14, let's read it one more time, now that we have an understanding. And behold, at eventide, trouble. And before the morning, he is not. Meaning the so-called white man is destroyed. This is the portion of them that spoil us, and the lot of them that rob us. So they cast lots for us. The Most High got a lot for them. Haman didn't know that. He still don't know that. They got all these plots and plans and decisions that they have pre-planned. The Lord got decisions he pre-planned. If they would have read the book of Esther, they would have known that. All that Haman wanted to do, the Most High always has something for him. Haman wanted to build gallows to destroy Israel and Mordecai. At the same time, the king couldn't go to sleep. And then the king, because he couldn't go to sleep, whether it's because of the gallows being built or not, Haman comes in and the king reading Chronicles, and he set up Haman. I mean, all hell broke loose. Everything Haman plotted to do, the Most High has something for him. Everything. So people are asking, okay, well, what's going to happen to us? What should we do when they come against us? Do what our fathers did in the days of Purim when they came against us. What did they do? Let's go to Editions of Esther. Let's go to chapter 14 and verse 1. Editions of Esther 14 and 1. Queen Esther, also being in fear of death, resorted unto the Lord. And it's that simple. And our fear of death, when these devils come against us like a flood, we have to resort to the Lord. We have to call upon Yahweh, Bahashmi Yahweh. The Lord said, call upon me in a day of trouble, and I will deliver thee, and thou shalt glorify me. And Psalms, the 50th chapter, verse 15. And fear of death and distress, when they cut this internet out, you see tanks in the streets, the modern day abomination that make it desolate, the kicking doors down, resort unto the Lord. Call upon Yahweh Bahashmi Yahweh. That's what our fathers did back then. Let's go back to Editions of Esther. All right, let me get one more calling on the Most High. Let's go to 2 Samuel 22. That's an important part of this truth, to know how and when to call on the name of Yahweh Bahashmi Yahweh. Psalms chapter 22 and verse number 3. The God of my rock, and him will I trust. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my high tower and my refuge, my savior, thou savest me from violence. So David is prophesying about Jacob's trouble. That's what he's prophesying about. We're going to read on. I will call on Yahweh, Bahashmi Yahweh, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. So if you want to be saved from your enemies, that's the answer. There's no in-depth breakdown. All you have to do is believe and call on the name of Yahweh Bahashmi Yahweh. Now, of course, throughout this grace that we've been given, it's our time to show our obedience to the Most High, to keep the commandments, love one another, prophesy, do the work. But in that set time, call on the Most High so you can be saved. 2 Samuel 22 and 5. When the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried to my God, And he did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears. This is the exact same thing in Editions of Esther, when Mordecai said that the two dragons cried. One dragon cried for violence, breathing out fire, and one dragon cried out for help to be delivered. Right? This is let me get a quick precept on this devil crying out in violence while we cried out for help. Second Maccabees, chapter 9 and 7. This is about Antiochus Epiphanes IV, right? To show that the so-called white man is a dragon. Howbeit, he nothing at all ceased from his bragging, but still was filled with pride, breathing out fire and his rage against the Jews, and commanding to haste the journey. But it came to pass that he fell down from his chariot, carried violently, so that having a sore fall, all the members of his body were much pained. So he had this plot to destroy Israel, and he was breathing out fire. Is that literal? No. But he's a dragon, breathing out rage and threats and what he wanted to do, how he's going to kill us and make Jerusalem a burying place. This shows that the so-called white man is a dragon. He breathes out fire. That's him crying to the Most High, right? Or crying out, rather, against us. Let's read it one more time. Editions of Esther, chapter 11 and 6. And behold, two great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great. So we broke down their cry. One is Esau breathing out fire, and one is us, like in 2 Samuel, crying out to the Most High. And this fight goes back to Genesis, the 25th chapter, where the children struggled together within her, and they were fighting in the womb, always fighting. These two dragons have been fighting from the womb. Let's get that. Right? In Genesis, the 25th chapter. Right? Genesis chapter 25 and verse number 23. It reads, I'll start at 22. And the children, these are the two dragons, right? Really, Jacob and Esau. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. So they're fighting already. They crying out one against another in the womb. But their lot was already determined. And the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So whose cry was greater in addition to Esther? Whose cry was greater? Who's stronger? Because yeah, we're stronger in boxing. Okay, we're stronger in football. Okay, we're stronger in cooking and dance and fashion. But our cry and our willingness to serve Yahweh Ba'Shemel Shai is greater than their willingness to commit violence on us. So we're stronger even in our petition to our God. We have more faith in the Most High than they do in Satan. Right? They know that. That's why they're coming against us. They know that the light, remember, Aaron's rod devoured the rod of the Pharaoh's wise men. Our power prevails over their powers. So our cry is always greater. And at their cry, let's read on. Esther 11 and 7. And at their cry, all nations were prepared to battle, that they might fight against the righteous people. So we read that in Zechariah, the 12th chapter. We read that in Zechariah, it's like Isaiah, the 17th chapter, Isaiah, the 59th chapter. You can read about this more in, Revelation, the 20th chapter. All right. And lo, a day of darkness and obscurity, tribulation and anguish, affliction and great uproar upon the earth. And the whole righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own evils, and were ready to perish. So this goes into Jacob's trouble. Yes, this happened back then, but on a spiritual prophetic level, it's going into Jacob's trouble while World War III is on the earth. That's this tribulation and anguish. Let's go to Daniel 12. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 12, and verse number 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. This is the pinnacle of World War III and Jacob's trouble. That's what Mordecai saw in the vision. Obscurity, and which is darkness, right? Confusion, being without hope, great uproar upon the earth. Those are the wars. And the whole righteous nation was troubled. That's Jacob's trouble, right? For brothers that may be new, sisters that may be new, you may not have heard of Jacob's trouble. Here's the trouble. Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse number 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Weren't we saved out of it in the days of Mordecai and Esther? Didn't the Lord overthrow the plots and the plans of Haman? And Haman died. He got killed. Let me call it how it is. He got killed, and his 10 sons got killed, which is a figure of what's going to happen to the so-called white man. Esau is going to be destroyed, and all of his sons are going to be destroyed. Because last time I read, it says, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. That's Isaiah 14:21. Let's go back to this. Esther 11 and 9. And the whole righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own evils, and were ready to perish. Right? Because you're going to have servants of us that are put to death, that are martyred. Right? And we're going to be in a spirit of, hey, there's no way out, but we're going to call on the Most High. Let's get a quick precept. Matthew chapter 24 and 22 or 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So whatever is coming on the earth is going to be far worse than what Mordecai and Esther had to deal with. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sakes, those days shall be shortened. So the Lord, if he don't cut the days short, we're all going to die. Let's say Jacob's trouble, I'm just throwing a number out there, it's supposed to last 1 year. The Lord is going to cut it short. So it's not 1 year. Because if it was 1 year, we'll all die. If the Lord cut it short, we're going to make it out of here. So that's what this means. We were fearing our own evils and ready to perish because the Lord has to cut that time short. Addition to Esther 11 and 10. Then they cried unto the Most High. That's that great dragon crying. And upon their cry, as it were from a little fountain, was made a great flood, even much water. This represents our deliverance, our salvation. And that time it was Esther. And this time it represents Yahushua delivering us. Right? When you go to the previous chapter, it tells you that a fountain was Esther. Right? Let's get the previous chapter. Addition to Esther, chapter 10 and 6. A little fountain became a river, and there was light and the sun and much water. This river is Esther, whom the king married and made queen, because she was the one that wrought the great deliverance. Started off insignificant and became mighty as a savior for Israel. In like fashion, our modern day savior is coming by means of Yahushua. He was started as a lamb, started lowly. As a sacrifice, he opened out his mouth, but he's coming back as a lion. Like we say, he left as a sheep, he's coming back as a lion. So it's going into the growth and the expansion and power given to the deliverer of the nation of Israel in the days of trouble. And men are likened unto fountains. Men are likened unto, in James, the Lord calls men waves. We're called fountains, we're called waves, right? Let's get this in James. James chapter 1 and verse number 6, right? Quick precept. James 1 and 6. But let him that ask in faith, it's like it, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. So men are likened unto waves. We're likened unto rivers, right? We're likened unto bodies of water. Ezekiel chapter 29 and verse number, let's start at Let's start at 3. Speak and say, thus said the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers, which saith, my river is mine own, I have made it for myself. So he said the kingdom, the people, all of that is mine, but it's being called a river. Okay? So the fountain becoming a flood represents the growth, right? And the buildup of our deliverance by means of Yahushua. Addition to Esther 11 and 11. It reads, the light and the sun arose, and the lowly were exalted and devoured the glorious. So when we cry unto the Most High, there's deliverance. The light and the sun rose up, and the lowly were exalted and devoured the glorious. That happened in the days of Purim. It's going to happen all over again. Let's get a precept. On the light and the sun rose up. That's not literal, spiritual. Okay. Isaiah chapter 30 and verse number 26. Let's read that. Isaiah 30 and 26. Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold, as the light of 7 days. And the day that the Lord bindeth up the breach of his people and healeth the stroke of their wound. So that light being sevenfold isn't literal light. It's speaking about complete deliverance through wisdom and knowledge and understanding. That's the light of the sun that Yahushua is coming with. He's being called a son, but he's coming with that light as well. So that's what this means. The light and the sun rose up, and the lowly were exalted. And we represent the lowly. And us being exalted is us literally exalting getting exalted up into the chariots, but also giving back power. Right? Here's a precept for the lowly were exalted. Let's go to a beautiful chapter, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 and 1. Here's a precept about the lowly being exalted. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labor. So this is going into us being delivered, right? We represent the righteous man, all right? And the heathen, they don't make an account of the work that we're doing. They think we're out there, we don't have a job, we just hate the so-called white man, we have nothing else to do, we're performers. They don't take what we do serious, but they're going to find out. When they see it, meaning when they see us exalted, they shall be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. When the chariots come, we get beamed up. They're going to be confounded. They're going to watch us and be confounded. And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision and a reproach. It's like in a proverb of reproach. That's them. They're the chosen. The niggers, the apes, my slaves, my janitors, my shoe shiners, not the niggers. How are they being saved? Not the black man, Hispanic man, the immigrants, the redskins, the savages. This is what they're going to say. We fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor. I mean, we thought they were crazy. Reading that Bible, reading that quote unquote white man's book. Who wrote that book? That's the white man's book. Bible ain't real. Ain't no God. That's what they say. Y'all are crazy. And they're going to have to eat their words. I told you so ain't going to, dang, I mean, I told you so is going to, it ain't going, there. I mean, I don't even know if I told you so could speak to what we're reading. And we ain't even going to say nothing. They're going to do a lot of talking. We done talking. At this point, we're going to be done talking. And they're going to do all of the talking. We fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor. How was he numbered among the children of God and his lot among the saints? How was he one of the chosen? And his lot, again, this is Purim coming up, is among the saints. So Purim, again, it's not just 2,500 years ago. There's another lot coming for the elect so they can be exalted among the saints. So addition to Esther, it says the lowly were exalted. That's the elect getting beamed up in a chariot, and they're going to devour the glorious. The glorious are the people of this world. The people that have wealth, that have riches, that have power, that have glory. We don't have no glory, man. We in the ghettos, the projects, the hoods, the slums, struggling. We ain't the glorious. We're called the poor. We represent Lazarus, begging for crumbs. We're called the lowly. We're not the glorious. Esau's the glorious. They're in Revelation, the 17th chapter, look how they're described with glorious apparel, right? Revelation chapter 17 and 4. We're about to read about them being called the glorious. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And this represents Babylon the Great. Glorious apparel, full of riches, full of wealth that they have robbed and stolen from every other nation under the sun, and full of sin and wickedness and confusion. So we're going to devour the glorious. Let's go to Psalms 149. Let's get a precept on that. Just like we did in the days of Purim, right? We devoured those that came against us. Psalms chapter 149 and verse number 5. Let's read it. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. That is a literal two-edged sword. Well, brother, what does that mean? Is that a parable? No, that's not a parable. You're going to be given actual swords by the Lord. See what you're going to do with that sword. to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written, this honor have all his saints, praise ye the Lord. So we're going to be given actual swords, and you're going to do things that you never thought that you'll be able to do with a sword. You've seen 300 and John Wick and all these movies. People they marvel at that stuff. You're going to be that times 10,000 with that sword. You're going to be chopping off legs, heads, arms, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. You're going to be going crazy. And you're going to be binding people up in slavery. Why? That's what the Most High said. That's what the Lord said. Let's go to Zechariah. Right? Let's go to Zechariah chapter 9. We're going to devour the glorious. It's like Zechariah chapter 9 and verse number 12. Turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. So we're going to turn to the stronghold. The stronghold is this Bible. That's our stronghold. We are prisoners of hope. And the Most High is telling us he's going to pay these devils back double for what they've done to us. And here's how he's going to do it. Zechariah 9 and 13. Here's how it's going to go down. When I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. Just like the Lord raised us up against Haman. He was a Greece. He's going to do that all over again. He's going to take the northern kingdom, which is Judah, and Slakia. He's going to take the northern kingdom, which is Ephraim. He's going to take the southern kingdom, which is Judah, bring them together, and have the biggest massacre, race war massacre ever done and recorded. All that Tulsa, Oklahoma, and all these cities they burnt down, and we're going to get our get back. And we're going to kill a lot of white men, children and babies and women. Yeah, we said it. It's in the Bible. So if you're an Edomite watching this, and we don't care, huh? You think we care? Think we're going to hold our tongue and sugarcoat? Well, maybe there's an Edomite watching. Maybe you don't want to offend. No, we want to offend the Edomite. I ought to be on a t-shirt. I want to offend the Edomite. I want to offend the Edomite tonight. You don't have a precept. So we're going to be like the sword of a mighty man. Meaning we're going to destroy a lot of these heathen. And the Lord shall be seen over them, and his arrow shall go forth as the lightning, and Yahweh shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with whirlwinds of the south. So you're going to have chariots above us, and Yahweh shall above us, and we're going to be running with swords, and we're going to give these heathen hell. The Lord of hosts shall defend them, and they shall devour. Hold on, let me go back to that in Esther. It says, and devoured the glorious. And Esther 11 and 11. Zechariah says, at Zechariah 9 and 15, going back to it, it says, the Lord of hosts shall defend them, and they shall devour. Same thing. And subdue with sling stones, and they shall drink, and make a noise as through wine, and they shall be filled like bowls, and that's the corners of the altar. So we're going to be losing our mind. And we're going to be like a man that's full of wine. Brothers have never drank in a bowl of wine. But if you want to kind of get if you have, hey, but if you want to get the visual of what the Lord is saying, imagine you and a bunch of brothers, and the truth, are laughing and drinking bowls of wine. Y'all going to get loud. Might get a little rowdy, right? At the restaurant, they might think y'all are about to fight. You and a bunch of brothers drinking, and y'all as Edomites at the restaurant, they're going to be intimidated. They're going to be scared. You're going to be killing so many Edomites, it's going to be like you are turning up at a feast day, like you was drinking bowls of wine. You're going to be loud. You're going to be screaming. You're going to be shouting. You ain't going to have no silencer on your sword. You're going to get down. The scriptures say, cursed be the man that keepeth back his sword from blood. So this is going to be a turn up. You might chop an Edomite head off, throw it up, another Edomite, throw his sword at that head. You thrust one Edomite through, your brother, he thrusts another Edomite through. You chop an Edomite legs off, he flying in the air, your brother come and he stab him in the back and bring his body down to the ground. One, you throw your sword, right, and the air is coming at the Edomite head between his eyes. Then another brother get up, he hop on your sword, he kind of hovering on your sword, and then he take the sword and he chop his head off. You might have two swords, moving them swords like, Bruce Lee was moving them swords. You might have a battle axe and the sword. You might have two battle axes. You're going to do things that you'll never imagine. Because you're going to be angry. You're going to be so angry. You're going to have the anger of the Most High inside of you. They're going to be running. They're going to be tripping in mud. We're going to be cussing them out. We're going to be hunting them. It's going to be like a sport. And we're going to be looking to get our body count on Edomites. It might be a competition. How many Edomites did you kill? I only got 4,000. Okay, I got 4,001. And it's going to go down. Okay, I'm done using my sword. Okay, I want to use my bow and arrow. Okay, I'm done using my bow and arrow. I want to have daggers. Some brothers might just want to use their fist. Some brothers might want a short knife so they can get up close and just, You got brothers that maybe knew, well, wow, I didn't know that this was in the Bible. This brother's kind of violent. Hey, the Most High is violent, man. And I love talking about this. Right? This excites me. The Super Bowl don't excite me. The Grammys don't excite me, man. This excites me, this truth, this knowledge, the hope, vengeance. That's why I haven't read the next verse yet, right? That's why we're still on Zechariah 9 and 15. We're going to read it again. Zechariah 9 and 15. The Lord of hosts shall defend them, and they shall devour and subdue with sling stones, and they shall drink and make a noise as through wine, and they shall be filled like bowls, and as the corners of the altar. And the Lord their God shall save them in that day, as the flock of his people, for they shall be as the stones of a crown, lifted up as an ensign upon his land. For how great is his goodness, and how great is his beauty, corn shall make the young men cheerful, and new wines the maids. So the Lord is going to save us. Psalms chapter 58 and verse number 6. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Lord. We're going to break their teeth in their mouth. They army, they tanks, they military might, they actual teeth. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be cut in pieces. When they start to shoot these missiles at Yahushua and at the fathership, the Lord's going to cut them in pieces with his sword. As a snail which melteth, let every one of them pass away, like the untimely birth of a woman, that they may not see the sun. Before your pots can feel the thorns, he shall take them away with a whirlwind, both living and in his wrath. So the Lord, before we have nothing, we're going to be without hope. The Most High is going to take Esau away with the whirlwind. That's the fathership, the chariots. The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. It's going to be so much blood. It's going to be so much death, so much destruction, double destruction. We're going to be washing our feet in the blood of the wicked. So that a man, hey, we're going to be going to these underground bunkers, going to the Vatican, taking our gold back, taking our treasury, enslaving the Pope. We're going to break that thick glass box that Pope be in, and we're going to take the Pope. All these deep underground military bases, we're going to be breaking all that stuff up. We're going to know their location. The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. So that a man shall say, verily, there is a reward for the righteous. Verily, he is a God that judgeth in the earth. And in that day, you're going to say, it was all worth it. Verily, there was a reward for all of my sacrifices. All of me keeping the commandments, denying sin, fighting week by week, catching the hell at your job, catching the hell with your family, health infirmities, financial issues, and stress, and woes, and sorrows, and pains, and guilt, and all types of spirits. When it's all said and done, you're going to say, it was worth it. The Lord hath given me a beautiful lot, and there is a reward for the righteous, and the Lord avengeth in the earth. Esther, chapter 11 and verse 12. Additions of Esther 11 and 12. Now when Mardochus, which is Mordecai, had seen this dream, and what the Most High had determined to do was awake, he bare this dream in mind, and until night, by all means, was desirous to know it. Right? And with that, we're going to close up, giving, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashima Mashiach Malak Yavashai. Most High willing you are edified. Keep the Sabbath holy. No buying, no selling, no cooking, no work on a Shabbat, no doing your own pleasures, speaking your own words. Salakia, trying to get that closed out. Right? Destruction of Nicanor draws nigh. Right? It falls so-called Saturday night at sundown. You got destruction of Nicanor. All right, Salakia, there we go. Right? Saturday night at sundown until Sunday night at sundown, it's destruction of Nicanor. And then Sunday night at sundown is the first day of Purim until Monday night, and Monday night until Tuesday night. The final two dragons of Judgment Day, again, Most High willing you are edified. Keep the Sabbath holy. Kwam Yashalom. Shalom.